Hi folks, Sarah here from the PACS team. I'm going to show you how to enter in a transfer request into HMIS. Before you start the transfer process though, you need to ask yourself, is your client still housed? If the client is housed, then a transfer request could be the appropriate next step. If the client, however, is not housed, then you do not want to complete this process. And you should follow the typical CES processes for referrals, etc. So again, this process is only for clients that are housed. So first step is to select your client. This is not a real client. 38486 is a made-up client. So we are in the live site, but not working with a live client. I have added myself as a case manager. And you can see that I am pretending that I still work at Cornerstone Montgomery, and this client is in the HIP program at Cornerstone. So say in providing services at Cornerstone, the Cornerstone team decides this person needs a higher level of care. HIP is not providing enough care. We need a PLQ for this client we're serving at personal living quarters. So we need to therefore submit a transfer request. After I select my client, I'll go to Entry Exit tab, and I'm going to hit Add Entry Exit. And then you're going to search for, you can type in transfer, and you'll see there's two options: transfer program for families, transfer program for individuals. This is an individual we are serving, so I'm going to select 415. It is always HUD when you're selecting a transfer program. And if we are being really technical, because they're entering the program, I would put 6 o'clock p.m. today. Save and continue. Quick point of clarification that was brought up by one of our community partners. As you can see, I'm shadowing Nick, who serves veterans in our system. For some case managers, when you guys hit Add Entry Exit and pull up this screen, you don't have the search box. But what you should have is this drop-down menu next to Provider. So if you hit this little box or arrow at any point, it'll give you a drop-down, and you can see there's MoCo Program Transfer IND for individuals, 415, or MoCo Program Transfer for families, which is 416. If you are looking on your drop-down menu, the box that pops up here, and you don't see program transfer, that means you need to email the HMIS team and say, hey, I need to submit a transfer request and I don't have access in HMIS. Can you help me? And they'll be able to add it to your drop-down box. And then you can select it by clicking on it. Again, it's always HUD, and we're going to... If you're looking at today's date for the entry, you're also going to say 6 o'clock p.m. if you're really sticking to the guidelines like you're supposed to. Save and continue. After doing so, you're going to see up here that the program transfer entry exit data has opened up. You'll see it's just the one client. If it's a family, you'll need to click on the additional household members, or if it's a 2-adult household, you want to click on the additional members that the transfer is appropriate to. It should default if there's one or more people. You should see the different household members down here. You're also going to see that the sub-assessment here is already program transfer request. Now, normally this will be blank unless there was a transfer request that was previously submitted. So in doing this form, I filled this out in advance so you see what you would put down. So you would enter in current housing program, which is HIP for Cornerstone, requested by Sarah Moore. That's me, the quote-unquote case manager. I'm going to say what the recent acuity score and full SPDAT scores are. In case summary, I'm going to write up what's happening with the client that is important for the contract monitor and anyone else with a transfer to know. Then you're going to go down to reason for transfer request. If there's information that was there previously, you need to erase that here and put down the new reason for the transfer request, what's going on. Make sure you're putting the most recent scores as well. Then you're going to fill out the other service areas involved in the case and the most recent update report. So any other service providers that are involved, what's going on, what's the most recent information. So sometimes you may have to submit a couple different transfer requests before it gets approved. So you want to make sure you're putting in the information that's relevant to the current state the client's in. Then you're going to go down to need for urgent transfer, select the reason that applies. So this is a drop down. There's going to be 3 different options. So you have at imminent risk of losing housing due to vulnerability and needing higher intensity housing, danger to self or others, including domestic violence related incidents, and then serious decline in somatic or behavioral health. And you want to provide any appropriate documentation to the contract monitor and include as many details as you can here in the form in HMIS. So say, Cornerstone Montgomery works with folks that have severe and persistent mental health issues. So say you're working with a client, maybe they have schizophrenia, maybe they become really symptomatic and paranoid, and they're doing things like punching holes in the wall because they think cameras are recording them. Maybe they're yelling at their neighbors because they think their neighbors are spying on them. So that person might be at imminent risk of losing their housing if those things are causing lease violations and the landlord's upset about it. Similarly, it could also be something like they might be a danger to themselves or others if they're yelling at their neighbors and their neighbors are threatening to punch them, beat them up, things like that. Then it could be more of this danger to self or others. Or if somebody was doing relatively well and then they've had a serious decline in their somatic or behavioral health, you want to say why. So if someone's having a serious decline, that could be for physical health. Maybe they had a stroke and now they can't perform their ADLs. They've had PT, they've had OT, they can't bathe themselves, they can't manage medications. Maybe they can't communicate verbally. They're trying to learn how to speak again. Maybe it was a really significant stroke. So that's the kind of thing that you would want to put when you select serious decline in somatic or behavioral health, what that decline is. So I'm going to leave this at imminent risk of losing housing. And then again, in cases of danger or serious decline, you want to put the specifics there. At this point, you stop. Anything below to be completed by the contract monitor, you leave that blank. So you want to make sure you're filling this top part out. If you do not fill this top part out, or you put very minimal information, so there's 2 things. One, if you don't fill it out and you just skip it somehow, then it's not going to show up on reports that you even submitted a transfer request. It's not going to show up on a report when a contract monitor runs it, so they know that they need to review it. And it's not going to show up on a report when Jasmine's running it for the CS list. So if you leave all of this blank, it's not going to pull up as an active request, even though there's an active entry exit for that individual or that household. So you want to make sure you're filling this out and filling it out with as many details as you can provide while kind of summarizing what's going on. And then you stop. Once you see this to be completed by contract monitor, you don't fill this out. So you're going to go down and hit save and exit. And you'll see MoCo program transfer for individuals is now active starting 9/3. The contract monitor is going to go in and add an interim update. And that is going to be where you can look to see if it was approved or denied. After you've done your part here in HMIS, you should email the contract monitor. They do not get a notification from HMIS. As you know, HMIS is not always the most sophisticated system. So you do need to email your contract monitor and say, hey, I've entered in a transfer request for, test client. Please review it and let me know what you think. So this is how you enter in a transfer request into HMIS.